In this video, I will show you a way to combine two animations in Blender and use the result in Unity. Here's the end result in game. It is a turn right 90-degree loop while holding a rifle in a non-aiming posture. The animations I'm going to combine are from Cobalt Animations assets, but any animations where the skeletons match each other should work. My base pose will be this turn right 90 animation, and the upper body pose will come from this idle gun down animation. I will be using the NLA editor and bake pose tools in Blender and show you step by step. Let's begin. Import the FBX file that contains the animation you will use as the source for your root or hips. Since I am making an animation for the body turning right, I want the motion to come from that clip. Once imported, let's rename our armature to root source armature, or anything that helps you remember this is what our hip motion comes from. Then, I'm going to enable the display of bones in front of the armature. I'm going to switch the editor to animation mode. Then I will switch the dope sheet to the action editor. I'm going to look for the action that I will use. Since I'm making an animation where the body turns right, I'm going to find the turn right 90 animation. I will also select the animation slot with the same name. I'll play the animation to confirm it's the correct one. Now, I'm going to clean up the action by renaming it to turn right 90 loop. And rename the corresponding slot as well. Next, I'm going to remove the motion from the root bone since I don't want to use root motion. I'll select the root bone from the pose view and then trim the timeline to 31 frames just so I can select frames more easily. The current root bone rotates the body, and we'll remove that rotation. Keep it if you want root motion in your animations. I will then delete every frame but the first frame by selecting the frames to the right and deleting them. Then I will duplicate the first frame all the way to 31. Now, if we select all the bones and preview the animation, we should still have limb motion but the body doesn't rotate. With our base ready, we're going to switch to the NLA editor in our animation preview. With our action still enabled, we're going to push the track to the NLA. The NLA now has a track, and we have no action selected on the action editor. The animation should still play properly. Our source is now set up. In order to have less to deal with in the next part, we're going to hide the source by selecting the hierarchy and pressing H to hide the objects. Now we are ready to prepare our next animation. I'm going to repeat the process and import the FBX that contains the animation I will use as the source for my arms. Once imported, let's rename our armature to upper body source. We will also enable bones in front display. Switch back to pose mode and using the action editor, we will find our animation. Mine is an idle gun down animation, and it is over 31 frames. I will expand the timeline to 420 to see every frame. If we preview the animation, our arms move a little bit. We're going to use this animation's arm position for the upper body part of our turnaround animation. I don't want the rest of the idle motion, so I'm going to use the first frame and have that be the source for the arms and shoulders. Our leg animation is 31 frames long, so we're going to trim the source animation down to 30 frames. I want the first frame to be static, so I will delete every other frame first. I'll delete keyframes from the right in sections just so I don't delete too much. Then I'm going to duplicate all the frames up to frame 31. We'll name this animation Gun Down Idle Static and rename the slot as well. Our static animation doesn't have any motion, which is desired. Now that the animation is prepared, we're going to hide the upper body source hierarchy. We will also unbind the animation from the action editor. Then I'll show the root source armature, then switch to pose mode, select all the bones, and select our action from the action editor so it is applied to this armature. Now if we push the action to the NLA, it should override every frame and replace the turn right 90 loop frames. The gun down idle static is currently applying on top of the turn right 90 loop, which is what we want. If we play the loop in exclusive mode, you'll see the motion is still there. Now that we've previewed things, we're going to remove the static animation track and make some edits to the animation. With the animation reapplied in the action editor and it overlaying in the NLA, we will start unticking bones. These bones will no longer affect the lower body motion. Since I want the shoulders and arms, I'll uncheck the other bones to avoid overriding the turn right 90 loop frames. As I edit the bones, I preview the animation just to see how it looks. If we remove the neck and the head, the animation still looks okay. I plan to use IK to move the head, so I will leave those in for now. Now let's preview it by removing the shoulders and see how that looks. As you untick bones, you can sort of see how the skeleton is affected. Remember, if you're not happy with what you picked, we can always redo this process. Once we are happy with how that looks, we will push this new version of the action as a track to the NLA. If we play our animation, it should be blending nicely. Notice I do not have the action selected in the action editor. This works because our track is set to blending mode replace, so the frames on the top track override the ones on the bottom. You can switch it to see how your frames get affected with different modes. For this purpose, I'm going to keep replace since we did all the work already. Now that we are happy with our NLA blend, we're going to clean up our project prior to baking the animation. I will delete the armature that we used for our arms. We will also trim our action timeline to the desired amount of frames, from 1 to 31. We will bake the action finally. Switch to pose mode if you're not in pose already. Then select all the bones. In the pose window, use the pose button, animation, bake action. I will uncheck only selected bones just in case I missed anything. Toggle visual keying on, and make sure bake data is set to pose. Keep all the channels enabled. Once you press OK, a new action will be created for you. We will rename this action to gun lowered turn right 90 loop. Toggle the fake data, shield icon, and rename the slot as well. Now we play our animation, it should look okay. Recall we currently are playing this on top of the two other tracks, so we'll push this animation onto the NLA track and then play it in exclusive mode. Now we can see our action without the other tracks, and make sure it looks good. If you want more sanity, remove all the tracks and re-import the animation with the action editor. Once we're done previewing, make sure to unbind the action from the action editor so it is not referenced in the NLA. Now we're going to clean up our Blender file prior to exporting. First, let's clean up unused data via File, Clean Up Data, Purge Unused Data. Next step, we will clean up our Blender file. Using the outliner, switch from Scene View to Blender file. Our FBX files came with a bunch of animations, so we will delete all of those unused ones first. I only want to export the gun lowered turn right animation, so I delete the rest. If you want to keep the other two source animations, feel free to do so. Our file is now ready to be exported. We want to export our animation and armature. For sanity, preview the action in the action editor to ensure it still exists. Now use File, Export, FBX. Select your destination and we will confirm some animation settings. From experience, I know to keep the sampling rate to 1 so it imports properly. If you look at the Blender documentation for it, you'll just have to trust me. Give your FBX a nice name. I'll name mine Turn Right Gun Lowered. And export. Once that FBX file is created, we will import it to Unity. Once you're in your Unity editor, we're going to import the FBX by dragging it into the Unity editor, in whichever asset directory you prefer. Once it is imported, we will have to set some settings. I'm using a humanoid rig, so I'll change the rig to humanoid. To map our bones, I'll have Unity create an avatar definition from the model inside the FBX. Once I press apply, you'll notice I got a warning about a bone. This may happen to you if your bones are not named what Unity expects. Don't worry, we can fix this. To fix it, we will configure the avatar. Notice my avatar has a hole in the chest bone. This bone is not currently mapped. Based on my skeleton, I know the spine 1 bone controls the chest, so I will bind that reference and press apply. Once that's done, let's exit out of avatar mode. If you want to preview the animation now, select it and the animation preview should play it. Notice in my preview the legs are a bit crooked. We will fix that soon. Now in the animation tab, we will add the clip from our FBX to the set of animations. I want to use a looping animation, so I'll enable loop time. Here I'll rename the clip to and press apply. Now we need to fix the leg position. We will do this by defining the root motion node under the motion properties for the clip. For my setup, I will use the root transform. If I press apply, you'll notice the legs finally fixed their orientation. Our animation's original orientation was facing the 2 p.m. position. Our clip is ready to be used. I'm going to assume you've done this before and breeze through some concepts, but I'll show you what my animation looks like in my game and how I wire things. I'm currently using a multi-directional blend tree under a locomotion state machine, so I need to associate the clip based on the blend tree. I'll assign the animation to my desired motion. As long as you're referencing it somewhere, we can then preview it in the scene. Once referenced, switch to the Animation tab and find our animation. Hopefully you don't have this many. Then you can preview it in the scene view. Remember, I didn't use root motion, so I will control the rotation of the player myself. If you have root motion, your body should move too. And that is how you combine two animations in Blender and use the result in Unity.